All right, so everyone's talking about this whole TikTok ban thing,
Yeah.
and I think we need to like really get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so you're here, obviously listening, because you want to understand what the heck is going on.
Absolutely. And it's more than just your typical data privacy stuff.
Yeah, it seems like there's way more to it.
It's almost like TikTok is the center of this like power struggle, you know?
Oh, totally. And I think a lot of people are feeling that too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try to like break this down for you guys.
Yeah.
We've got a ton of articles, legal analyses.
Mm.
We even watched some YouTube rants.
Oh yeah, we went down some rabbit holes for this one.
We did. And we're going to try to figure out, like why this is happening.
Yeah.
What's the truth behind it all and who's actually going to benefit from this whole thing.
Right, because someone's always benefiting.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So let's start with like the basics, right?
Okay.
We've got the U.S. government. They're saying, TikTok, you got to go.
Yeah. So
And they're giving ByteDance, which is the Chinese company that owns TikTok.
right.
They're giving them 9 months to sell it to an American company or basically get kicked off all the app stores.
Which is a pretty tight deadline when you think about it.
Yeah, that's a huge deal.
It is, and this isn't just some like fringe idea either. This has like bipartisan support.
Oh, wow.
Like both sides of Congress are on board with this. They even stuck it into a foreign aid package.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, which I think really shows how seriously they're taking this whole TikTok thing.
Okay, so this is serious business.
Yeah, it is.
But like, how did we even get to this point? This isn't the first time they've tried to go after TikTok.
Right? No, you're absolutely right. This
Yeah.
isn't the first time we've seen this.
Okay, so
Back in 2020.
yeah, Trump was in office.
Yeah, the Trump administration, they tried to ban it,
Right.
but it got all tangled up in legal battles and,
Yeah, nothing really happened.
And now the Biden administration, they're trying a different approach.
Oh, so they're not going for an all-out ban this time.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
They're more focused on forcing a sale.
Oh, so they're like, you have to sell it to an American company.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I see, I see. But it sounds like TikTok isn't just going to roll over and take this.
No, they're not. They've actually filed a lawsuit against the ban.
Oh, wow. So they're fighting back?
Yep, they're saying it's unconstitutional and that it violates their users' First Amendment rights.
Okay, so there's like a whole legal battle brewing.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. So if they did actually manage to enforce this ban,
Right.
how would they even do it? Like, are they going to go door to door taking people's phones?
I doubt it. It wouldn't be quite that dramatic.
Okay.
The most likely thing is they'll force app stores like Apple and Google to remove TikTok
Right.
and maybe pressure internet providers to block access.
But people can always find workarounds,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
like VPNs and stuff.
Yeah, you're always going to have those tech-savvy folks who find a way around it.
Right, exactly.
But that's kind of like playing whack-a-mole with technology.
It really is.
Yeah, you block one thing and something else pops up.
Totally. So let's get to the heart of this whole debate,
Okay.
data privacy.
Yeah,
TikTok, they collect a ton of data on their users.
right. Everything from the videos you watch to your location, even like your browsing history.
Pretty much everything.
It's a lot of information.
And that's what's freaking everyone out, right?
Well, yeah, that's the big concern because all that data, it could potentially be accessible to the Chinese government.
Oh, so it's not just about the data collection itself
Right. It's about who has access to it.
and what they could potentially do with it.
Exactly.
Okay, but is there any actual proof that ByteDance has shared data with the Chinese government?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, there's no smoking gun. No, like, solid
Oh,
proof.
so it's all speculation.
Pretty much. It's a lot of what-ifs at this point.
I see, I see.
But even that possibility, it's enough to worry some lawmakers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so they haven't like actually done anything wrong,
Not that we know of.
but the potential is there.
Exactly. And that's what they're focused on.
But they've tried to address this, haven't they? Didn't ByteDance propose Project Texas?
They did, yeah. Project Texas was this whole plan to move all U.S. user data to servers here in the States managed by Oracle.
So like an American company would be controlling the data.
Yeah, that was the idea.
So why wasn't that enough?
Well, it seems like the distrust runs really deep. Even with that, some policymakers just weren't convinced.
I see.
They thought it was too little too late.
So even with all these attempts to be transparent, the suspicion is still there.
Absolutely.
Like the U.S. government's thinking, better safe than sorry, even without any hard evidence.
That seems to be the approach.
But here's the thing, right? We're worried about Chinese apps collecting our data,
Yeah.
but American companies are blocked in China.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of ironic?
It's definitely a point that a lot of people are bringing up. They're saying it's a double standard.
Oh, yes.
You know, the U.S. is pushing for an open internet globally, but then they're restricting access to certain platforms within their own borders.
Yeah, that's a good point. It makes you wonder what the real motives are here.
Exactly. Is it really about national security, or is there something else going on? It's a valid question.
It is. So we've got this whole mess of data privacy, national security, and like global politics.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's starting to feel like TikTok is just caught in the middle of this huge power struggle.
I think that's a pretty accurate assessment.
But let's be real here for a second.
Okay.
Could this ban actually benefit some people here in the U.S.?
Now, that's an interesting question. And it leads us to one of the juiciest parts of this whole story.
The winners and losers.
Exactly. Who stands to gain from a TikTok ban?
Well, the obvious winners would be TikTok's rivals.
Yeah. You're thinking Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Exactly. They've all been trying to copy TikTok with their own short-form video stuff.
Right. They're all trying to get in on that action.
And a TikTok ban would basically wipe out their biggest competition.
It would be a huge gift to those companies. Think about Instagram Reels, for example.
Yeah.
Their usage has already gone way up since all this ban talk started.
Wow, so they're already benefiting.
Oh, yeah. And imagine if TikTok was completely gone.
They'd be unstoppable.
Pretty much, it would clear the field for them to totally dominate the short-form video market.
It's like they're just waiting in the wings.
Exactly.
But it's not just about the companies that already exist, right?
No, you're right. If ByteDance is forced to sell TikTok,
Yeah.
there's going to be this mad rush to buy it.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to want a piece of that.
Think about it, 150 million active users in the U.S. alone. That's huge.
That's a gold mine.
It is. Investors and companies are going to be lining up to get a piece of that pie.
So we've got the existing social media giants who would love to see TikTok disappear.
Right.
And a whole bunch of companies and investors ready to snatch it up if it goes on sale.
It's like a feeding frenzy waiting to happen.
It's starting to feel like this whole ban could be a giant payday for some people in the U.S. tech world.
It wouldn't be surprising.
But it's not just about the money, is it?
No, you're right. There's a political side to this, too. Some politicians are really worried about TikTok's influence on young voters.
Oh, yeah. They think it could be used for propaganda and stuff.
Exactly. They're saying it could spread misinformation, and that could benefit China.
So it's not just data privacy and national security.
Yep.
It's also about power. Who has it in the digital age and how they can use it to shape people's opinions.
It's about controlling the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is getting pretty deep.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface here.
But I think we've laid out some of the main players and their motivations.
I think so.
This TikTok ban, it's definitely more than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot more to this story than people realize.
Yeah, and we're going to keep digging.
We're just getting started. It's a tangled web, for sure. And the political stuff, it's a whole other layer to this.
All right, like banning an app that millions of people use.
Yeah, over 150 million Americans.
Especially young people. It just feels kind of extreme.
It does.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying it's a slippery slope when it comes to censorship.
Oh, like if they can ban TikTok.
Exactly. What's next? What other apps could they decide to ban based on potential threats?
Yeah, that's a scary thought. So is national security really a good enough reason to limit free speech?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The First Amendment, it's supposed to protect us from government censorship.
Right, but national security.
Exactly. Sometimes those two things clash and it gets really complicated legally.
It's like they're constantly trying to balance those two things.
Yeah, finding that right balance is tough.
So what are some of the arguments against the ban?
Well, the main one is that it would silence all these voices.
Like those 150 million users.
Especially young people who use TikTok for news entertainment, connecting with each other.
It's like their whole world for some of them.
It is for a lot of people.
But some people say that TikTok is actually really good for diverse viewpoints and creativity.
Right. And that banning it would just give more power to the big media companies.
Yeah, like Meta.
Exactly. They'd have even less competition.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about the argument that TikTok could be used to spread misinformation by China?
That's a valid concern, but then the question becomes, who gets to decide what's misinformation?
Right, like what even is propaganda? Is it just anything you disagree with?
It's tricky, and there's actually a really interesting Supreme Court case about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in 1965.
Oh, way back.
It was called Lamont v. Postmaster General.
Okay.
And basically, the court said that Americans have the right to receive information even if the government considers it foreign propaganda.
So, like, even if it's biased or potentially harmful?
Yeah, the idea is that people should be able to make up their own minds about the information they see.
Not the government deciding for them.
Exactly. So the question is, does banning TikTok go against that principle?
Even if it's for national security reasons.
Right. It's a tough call.
It's like we want to be safe, but we don't want to give up our freedoms.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
And then there's the whole thing about TikTok censoring content in China.
Right, like the Tiananmen Square stuff and the Uyghur Muslims.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to believe.
It is. Those allegations haven't been proven, but they definitely add to the distrust.
So we're trying to figure out national security versus free speech.
Yep.
Plus, there are all these allegations and geopolitical tensions.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is.
My head's spinning.
I know. It's a complex situation with no easy answers.
And it's easy to forget about the people in the middle of all this.
Right. We're talking about a platform that millions of people use to express themselves, connect with each other.
That's a big part of their lives.
It is.
Yeah.
So how do we make sense of all this? How do we weigh the risks and the benefits?
Yeah, how do we even form an opinion on this?
I think the first step is to acknowledge how complicated it is.
Right. It's not just good guys and bad guys.
Exactly. There are valid points on both sides.
And we need to try to stay calm and think clearly.
Yes, avoid the hype and hysteria.
Look beyond the headlines and all that. Exactly. We need to think critically, question our own assumptions, and be open to different perspectives.
It's so easy to just get caught up in the emotions.
It is. But we need to try to be objective and look at the evidence.
And be aware of our own biases.
Oh, absolutely. We all have them.
It's about approaching this with humility.
Yes. Recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
But if we talk about it and look at the facts,
we can at least start to understand it better.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal. So as we keep going deeper into this TikTok ban,
Oh, we need to keep all this in mind.
it's easy to get swept up in the drama.
It is. But we need to focus on critical thinking and finding the truth.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue that's constantly evolving.
It feels like we're being forced to pick between safety and freedom.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But it makes you wonder, is banning TikTok really the best way to solve this?
Like, if we're really worried about data privacy and national security,
Yeah.
shouldn't we be looking at the bigger picture?
Exactly. It's not just about TikTok. What about all the other companies that collect tons of data on us?
Right. Like, what about those data brokers? The ones that buy and sell our info without us even knowing.
Exactly. They're out there operating in the shadows. And then there's the government's own surveillance programs.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of hypocritical to go after a Chinese app while we're doing the same thing here.
Right. It's like we're focusing on one little fire while ignoring this massive inferno.
Maybe it's just easier to blame China than to deal with our own problems.
It could be. It's definitely easier to rally people against a foreign enemy.
Then to admit that we've kind of messed up our own privacy.
Exactly. We've traded privacy for convenience and entertainment.
So banning TikTok might make us feel better, but it doesn't really solve the problem.
Nope. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
So what do we do then? If we really care about data privacy, where do we go from here?
Well, I think we need to have an honest conversation about what we're willing to give up.
Like, how much privacy are we willing to sacrifice?
Right. And how much surveillance are we okay with in the name of security?
Those are some tough questions.
They are, but they're questions we need to be asking.
Yeah, we can't just ignore this.
We need to demand more transparency from companies about how they use our data.
And push for stronger privacy laws.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Laws that give us more control over our own information.
And we need to hold our politicians accountable.
Yes. Make sure they're not sacrificing our freedoms for security.
It's about finding that balance.
Between security and freedom.
Protecting ourselves, but also protecting our values.
Exactly. It's a challenge, but it's one we have to face.
Well, we've definitely gone deep on this TikTok ban.
We have data privacy, national security, free speech, global politics.
It's a lot more complicated than it seems at first.
Way more. And there are no easy answers.
Nope. It's a huge issue with big implications for all of us.
For our rights, our security, the future of the internet.
So as we try to figure this all out,
we need to think critically, be open-minded, listen to different viewpoints.
don't just believe everything you hear,
Do your own research. Question things. And be informed.
because knowledge is power.
It really is. The more we know, the better equipped we'll be to deal with all this.
Okay, so that wraps up our deep dive into the TikTok ban.
We've given you a lot to think about.
But keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.
Find your own truth.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here.
This is just the beginning.